Hey there and welcome to devlog number 29. And this one took a little bit longer than usual, simply because the list of bullet points to cross before I wanted to make another video just got longer and longer over time. But surely it wasn't that bad. Oh jeez. Anyway, this is Kemono Springs now, and I don't even know where to start because so much got changed since the last video. So I guess I start with the most obvious. The whole main UI has been changed. I now have customers displayed on these more stylized horizontal boxes, because in my testing games I noticed that the vertical layout on the left side of the screen shifted the point of attention for the player far too much to the left side of the window. So I moved the elements that you interact with the most towards the center, and to keep it visually appealing, I balanced out the center points by moving the character slightly towards the right side. Golden ratio, by the way. So now you no longer get a stiff neck when playing this game. And then I added this little sideways camera movement when opening the character UI, just to spice it up a bit. And as you can see, the background even has a little parallax effect built in when the camera moves. Ah yes, talking about the background. Well, my original idea of the bird's eye perspective of the spring got discarded, for now. Maybe I add it back later, for the starting menu of the game. The reason is simply that drawing backgrounds is an extremely time-consuming process, especially for someone like me who doesn't have experience with background art. So I wanted to put my focus on the first background that actually matters, that you will see most of the time, which is the close-up of the spring. And as you can see, it's still unfinished. The basic outlines are done, and I started with some shading at the bottom and also on the right part a bit. But then one day I injured my hand and stopped working on it and didn't pick it up again since then. However, I implemented a cool water shader. The basic wave shader is from Godot Shaders and called Stylized Toon Water from Fantacaco 8. Link is in the description. However, his shader did not have reflections, and I need to work around that part. So essentially, I drew the underwater part of the spring as well and manually painted some reflections on there. And to make that move along with the waves, I added a simple secondary shader that makes them, well, wobbly. And then I added a 3D environment node. And because the light reflections from the sun were missing, I wrote another simple shader to create that on top of the water plane. And it actually uses screen coordinates instead of world coordinates, so that the reflection follows the camera correctly. And honestly, I don't like messing around with shaders, but somehow in the process, I figured it out, and it wasn't so hard. So that's an achievement for me. Also, you might have noticed already, but I replaced the AI-generated placeholder art for Mikisa with my own drawing of this character. And currently, the character design comes in 3 outfits and multiple variations for toggles. And it's also ready to wig. So I just need to put in some time and effort, and we have an animated character. As for Rin, she still uses the AI placeholder art, but drawing her as well is on my to-do list for the next months. I removed the whole management skill and office room system from my game. I noticed when people uploaded their testing game footage that nobody even found out the feature existed, so I came to the conclusion that it was unintuitive and too disconnected from the rest of the game. And this is a reminder for me to put up more builds for public testing, so I am not going to waste more time on features that are actually terrible. Like, remember the blessing system from the last episode? I figured it was a waste to restrict it to random buffs and changed it to be like an RPG inventory. And now it actually extends the current gameplay intuitively because items can be gained from just playing the game normally, and there's no convoluted system on top of it. Also, I drew a bunch of custom icons for these items. There will be more in the future, but for now there is a good variety of them for event rewards that range from permanent stat boosts to, like, consumables. And yeah, I'm very happy with those. They look a bit cartoonish, but I think they match the UI very well. The next major change was adding active traits to my game. Originally, I intended the traits to be just passive effects that you can learn when leveling up the characters, but now they can be passive or active abilities. And when a character learns an active trait, there's this little diamond UI thing here to activate them. Honestly, I have no idea why I wanted traits to be restricted to passives originally, because after going back to the planning phase, I realized quickly how much it opened up the design space for more player agency. For example, I can now have traits that counter bad RNG or give temporary effects at the cost of some stamina, etc. Also, status effects are now displayed on the character portrait, and these active abilities actually play around with these status effects. For example, Mikisa has this ability that makes her instantly recover a lot of stamina, but it also adds the exhausted debuff to her that prevents her from working for the rest of the day. But there are also ways to get rid of this debuff, like items or the abilities from other characters, or you simply let the poor cat rest as intended. Oh yeah, the icons. They forced me to learn how to draw cute stylized cats, and that's definitely a useful skill to have as a parent. Another small feature, you can now reject customers by clicking on the little X next to them. You have to refund the admission fee if you do so, but it allows playing around with the customer dock and opens up design space for abilities that can summon new customers, so this was a very useful change. Also, I realized that I had to make the interaction window a lot bigger, because you are spending a lot of time in this screen, so it made no sense to have it take up only 50% of the real estate of the screen. And for the final big thing I added, there is now town events, and you can visit the town once per day, and it will trigger a randomly selected multiple choice event with multiple layers. And you can also take a few of your servants with you that you can use on skill or stat checks. There are also some hidden checks that unlock some extra intel or extra paths, like in this example, where having a character that knows how to be stealthy will generate an extra comment that a girl we're observing seems to be cautious of town guards. And I am currently building these events on an external website so that the community can contribute their own events if they want to. Yeah, I think that's all for the big changes since the last update. And to be honest, I feel the game has progressed a lot over the last months, but there's still a lot to do. And I want to release a new playable alpha over the next weeks, once I have done a good variety of town events. And then obviously I also need to finish the background art and draw the other character. But the end of the tunnel is finally visible, and that's very motivating after a long drought period. So yeah, feel free to hop on my Discord to play the new alpha build when it's ready. Oh, and for those who liked my recent Enfield content, my next video will be another commentary piece on that. Yeah, that's all. Cheers, and I wish you a wonderful Christmas and have a peaceful and merry time. Doodles.